Hugh, perfect guy to talk to about the legal obstacles or lack thereof from here. Is this going to withstand scrutiny in courts?
Anyone who says they know the answer to that, Kelly, is sort of puffing up their own ability to see the future. There have been a lot of unilateral executive actions in American history, beginning with the Louisiana Purchase by Jefferson, Lincoln's Emancipation Proclamation, all the way through Bill Clinton's bombing of Iraq in 1998 and President Obama's bombing of Libya in 2012. What happens in each of these is they're subjected to what is known as the Justice Jackson test. That dates back to 1952 when Harry Truman seized all of the steel mills in the country. And at that point, Justice Jackson laid out 3 categories of presidential actions: those that have some congressional support, those for which there is no support and no opposition, and those that are opposed by Congress. This looks to me to be a Zone 1 category, and I do believe if the lawsuit is brought even in the Fifth Circuit, the president might win at the appeals level. He'll certainly have a good shot of winning at the Supreme Court.
And Eamon, you've said it's important where the funds come from that he's going to use. How much is he trying to raise, and how much of the border wall is he trying to build?
Well, ultimately, they're talking about $8 billion here, but it's not clear exactly where that's going to come from. In the National Emergency Declaration, they are going to take some money from military construction funds that the Pentagon had been appropriated earlier. Now, the question is, what military construction are they going to suspend in order to reprogram that money over to the border wall? White House officials not answering that question here today, probably because all of those military construction projects have defenders of their own, and you can avoid stirring up a hornet's nest of protest around shutting down some of those programs by simply not saying, as long as you can, what programs you're going to shut down politically.
And Hugh, as I understand it, the New York Times is a great explainer here. They say the president is allowed to declare this, but he has to explain which statutes are being activated. And there's 2 that could allow him to proceed with the border wall. One of them allows other resources to help construct, quote, authorized civil works, military construction, and civil defense projects that are essential to the national defense. It would seem like the border wall could fit that, could fit that description.
I would say that he will cite that statute. He'll also cite the Secure Fence Act of 2006. He'll cite the appropriation, which does not tie his hands, as was just said. He's got a lot of things to cite, and 59 past emergency declarations dating back to 1976. There's a whole bunch, a whole host of precedents he can cite. The question is whether or not he's going to find a friendly 5-person or greater majority at the Supreme Court. And I don't think it'll take a long time to get there because it is poised as a national emergency.
How quickly?
I think it'll move up fairly quickly.
How quickly, Hugh?
Let's say 6 months. First,
wow.
You're going to get hopefully they have lined up a landowner in Texas to bring a challenge to the fence that will cause eminent domain on their property. Then it go to the Fifth Circuit. Hopefully it gets Judge Willen and Judge Edith Jones and Judge Ho. And then they send it on up to the Supreme Court. They turn down en banc. That's a 6-month, and they could hear it next year.
Okay.
And they might not get an injunction against it. He might be able to start building. No one knows. That's the bottom line. No one knows.
Versus, Eamon, if it came up through the Ninth Circuit, which perhaps would be less friendly. The president, of course, has called that district out before. So yeah. That's one scenario. It could be kind of fast-tracked, so to speak. But how do the politicians proceed in the meantime? What happens along the border in the meantime?
Well, that's an open question. We don't know the answer to that. And speaking of the politics, I have a question for Hugh, actually, if you don't mind.
Sure.
The politics of this are so fascinating. There was this moment in the Rose Garden when NBC's Kelly O'Donnell asked the president about those conservative pundits and what he thinks of those folks and whether or not they had any impact on his decision-making here. The president said that they don't support him automatically. They support him when he's doing the things that they agree with. I wonder, Hugh, you know all those folks, what you think of that and the president's relationship with the Sean Hannitys of the world and how much he's thinking about that when he makes this declaration today.
Well, I think the president does weigh input from all sorts of voices, including those who are most connected to his 40% base. But he also reads the New York Times and the Washington Post every day, and he consults broadly with members of Congress. You saw Mitch McConnell come out and support the president. You saw Lindsey Graham come out and support the president. Other senators have voiced concerns over this. I'm one of those balls and strikes guys. When he does something wrong, I hate the tariffs everywhere except China. But when he does something right, like increased military spending, I applaud. And his judicial selections have been better than any Republican presidents in my lifetime. His national security team of Mike Pompeo and John Bolton, thumbs up. So there's a lot of good that I like about him. About this fence, I think it's an open question. I want to wait and read what White House counsel Pat Cipollone and the new Attorney General Bill Barr have put together in their argument that will go before a district court judge. It's really, I've been teaching these cases for 25 years. It's the closest case that I've come across. I have no idea which way it'll go because it depends on Brett Kavanaugh, John Roberts, Sam Alito, Justice Thomas, and Neil Gorsuch.